Brian Westbrook with GeekWire Studios here at AWS reInvent 2025, joined by Resolve AI founder and CEO, Spiros Xanthos. Spiros, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for hosting me.
We are very excited about this topic, I am anyway, because Resolve AI is doing a lot in the observability space. But let's talk first with how has AI changed software development as we know it? Software engineering is very different than it was even just a few years ago.
So, I don't think there is any software engineer in the world, practically speaking, that doesn't use AI to write code.
Yeah.
And you know, we didn't start there, right? Even just a year ago, AI was probably mostly an auto-completion or an assistant for creating code. And over the past 1 year, we moved to essentially agents writing code and humans managing those agents. But if you look at actually the software world or what it means to be a software engineer, that's only a small fraction of what you do, right? The rest is actually running, maintaining, improving the running software system. And I think that's the next frontier. And what we're going to see next is we're going from like an agent that maybe understands code to multiple agents that understand source code, understand production tools and telemetry, understand infrastructure, and you know, put all of these things together to change not how we create software, but how we run it as well.
Now, managing large production systems is very challenging. Any enterprise, all of the companies here, they know that monitoring the code that was written, observing its behavior, dealing with changes, dealing with rollouts is very difficult. But you have a way to use AI to make that easier. Tell us about your products and how that works.
So first of all, I worked in observability myself for 20 years. I started 2 companies, one acquired by VMware, one by Splunk. I co-created OpenTelemetry with my co-founder and a few other folks. And you know, what we realized after many years of doing all of that is as the complexity of system increases, it's impossible for humans to keep up with that, right? Because observability, yes, collects a lot of data, but it's back to humans to do the work. So what we do with Resolve AI is we're building agents that are now operating all these tools, telemetry, code, infrastructure, but also are the reasoning engine on top, right? So humans are moving from being both the operators and the glue to these tools to being actually a layer above in the abstraction and managing agents that do all this hard work, right? So you get a lot better outcomes, a lot faster, and you have much better productivity for humans.
Why is this a hard problem to solve?
So AI is very hard, right? As easy as it is to build a demo, it is very, very hard to build a production system. So, and that's my advice also to CTOs sometimes, right? Like, if it's core to your business, it makes sense to invest a lot, right? But if it's something like this, which is not core to your business, it's better to partner with somebody else and do it. And the way to think also about this problem is that it's different than how you evaluate maybe a coding agent, right, or a coding tool. This goes into your production, right? It helps you run your production. It is reliability and security are very, very important aspects.
Now, you mentioned some advice that you would give to CTOs and other executives. How do you get them started? Where do they begin this journey to use, for example, Resolve.ai, but other observability tools to keep their AI development in check and to make it better?
So our view is like agents for production like Resolve are not a replacement for observability, right? Because you still have to have all your data, you still have to have like dashboards and things that humans or agents can use, right? But you know, the difference between agents, AI agents in this domain and like traditional tools is that they don't require you to change anything, right? You can start using Resolve on day one. Resolve agents know how to go and use the human tools the way they are. So it takes usually like days to be up and running with very, very effective results, right? And that's one big difference between, let's say, the traditional observability and what AI agents can do in production.
Now, you're talking a lot about autonomous systems that are able to proactively find problems before they start. And one of the areas that we know, covering the technology industry for many decades, is SRE burnout. Those that are responsible for keeping the systems reliable and keeping them up and running are working long days and weekends. How are your tools helping solve that problem and maybe bridge the gap so they don't necessarily have to be on call 24/7?
In my last role, I was the general manager for Splunk Observability, which was a large production system with a pretty big engineering team. At some point, we lost, in a period of 6 months, 90% of our SRE team to burnout because it was so hard, right? And you know, what I hear from people all the time is that this is very stressful work, right? Like, this is not work that humans love doing. So the idea here of Resolve is actually not only help, let's say, get to better outcomes faster, but relieve humans from this very stressful, tedious, time-consuming work and let them actually focus on things that actually they enjoy and maybe where human creativity is even more effective.
And what are you hearing from those engineers, those SREs that maybe have a little bit of relief valve?
So, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I really love about what we're building is that it's so well received by humans because they feel it's great if AI, let's say, does the creative work, but what's better if AI does the chores for us, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what Resolve is all about, right? Like doing the work that is hard, stressful, and difficult for humans, and relieving humans from that and letting them focus on actually more creative work, building, and maybe managing those agents.
Yeah, well, Resolve AI, we're talking to Spiros Xanthos, founder and CEO. Thank you so much for taking the time for being with us here at AWS reInvent 2025. I'm Brian Westbrook. Thanks for watching.